Tesla full driving, Elon Musk driving in his fully self-driving vehicle. What are your thoughts on that?
That is pretty cool. I saw the video and it just malfunctioned at one spot where
Yeah.
he was in really heavy traffic.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was pretty much accurate. The same thing happened. MKBHT, he also did a review of the full driving thing. The same thing happened with him. The drive was pretty good and smooth. The only time it had a problem was for some traffic cones, because the traffic cones were like make and shift arrangement by the construction workers or something to mark the detour.
There was a red light that Elon Musk had to intervene. He was. Are
Yeah.
you talking about MKBHD?
Yeah, I'm talking
Okay, you're
about
talking
the
about
MKBHD
okay.
experience.
Yeah, because Elon Musk, everything was going perfectly fine. He had to intervene once because there was a red light, and then after that, fully self-driving was working just fine. Okay. What I like about fully self-driving, the way that he has it currently is, even if you're not connected to the internet, the vehicle can work offline because the AI model is working with all of the software already in the car. So you don't have to worry about an internet connection in terms of how the fully self-driving works. That's a big plus,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think
really important.
they save the learning of the model in the car only. Like they don't need to keep the whole data, right? They can just save the model in there, and with whatever parameters the cameras and other sensors are picking up, the
Right.
AI is making the decision just based on that data and how it is calculating it, the mathematical formulas and equations. It is being like hard coded into the system of the car, but
Right.
how it is calculated back at the headquarter. At least I think how it must be.
No, it's not working that way. It's working completely offline. In other words, AI is making the decision for the turns, the brakes, you name it, the turn signals. It's doing all of that in an offline capacity, and it's using the cameras specifically. It's not using anything else. Tesla doesn't run off of LiDAR like other systems do. So it's doing a good job of it. I think it was a good test. Fully self-driving is an incredibly difficult thing to achieve. Like when Tesla first tried to do it, I think even they kind of had optimistic beliefs on whether or not it could be achieved or not. And even now, it's still questionable because it's incredibly difficult to create a system that allows a vehicle to not create problems. Like that is really, really difficult.
You want to hear a funny thing?
Sure.
I saw a video on YouTube once in which a guy did the self-driving car thing. So it was not that precise how it is Tesla, but the video was also, I guess it was 2003, if I am not wrong. So he made a self-driving car in 2003, and he literally drove it across the. His car was fine just for interstates.
For interstate.
It was
Okay,
not
okay.
that much trained, but
Right.
given the fact he did it in 2003,
Yeah.
that was pretty huge.
No, but the thing is, it's not even just the fact that it's possible, right? It's the fact that he's doing it just using cameras. So before, when they had like automated driving, they were trying to use like LiDAR systems and a bunch of other sensors to try to make full self-driving possible. But the problem is, making those components are just a lot more expensive than creating cameras. So going that route had its own challenges, and it's probably a little bit, or maybe a lot harder than it seems. But the fact that we're making this kind of headway, or that Tesla's making this kind of headway, is a good sign. I think that, like, my original predictions was that full self-driving would be possible in 5, maybe 10 years, if we're lucky. Now, seeing the capabilities so far, it looks like it may be sooner. It looks like it could be in 2 years, and that's a good thing. But that's something that we still have to wait and see,
I
We-
think it will be much sooner. The
A
complete
year or
test
2 years?
driving- Huh?
A year to 2 years?
Even sooner than that. I said
Yeah.
within 6 or 7 months, because now they have the whole new supercomputer, which will supposedly increase their
Right.
precision of their AI model and self-driving thing drastically. So it is basically
It's
it
a
is
lot of money. It's a lot of money to throw for a supercomputer.
yeah,
$300
it is,
million.
but supercomputers are expensive.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that that kind of capacity, I mean, the fact that they have created a super cluster of GPUs to kind of bolster the Dojo supercomputer, I think that's a good bet. I mean, 10,000 GPUs for that capacity, I think it's gonna make a big difference in terms of what it can do. Because now the self-training is gonna start to really come into play, and when the AI is working in an offline capacity in each Tesla, and it's self-training, it's learning from its mistakes and learning from its experience, that's where I think there's going to be a real significant improvement. So we really have to see what's going to happen in a year or two. But I wouldn't discount my prediction, because if you look at like cruise vehicles, I'm sure you've seen them on the road because we're here in Austin, cars driving themselves. Those have really robust systems that are not just camera based. Like they look like they have a transformer on top of them for the most part. And even those are struggling. Like if I read an article where a fleet of cruise vehicles, you know, self-driving, no driver in the vehicle, like taxi kind of style, were basically blocking an entire street in San Francisco. And that right there was one of the red flags. Then in another article, there was an accident where it had hit, I think, a pregnant woman, and that led to some restrictions on what they can basically do. So they had to recall a bunch of vehicles. So it's a tricky thing, because if they don't get it right, if they create an accident, it ultimately prevents that kind of system from being expanded and from being tested further at the commercial capacity, you know, let alone at the capacity of the consumer. So that's something that I'm really curious to see. But I think we're making some good headway.
The problem with these things is, I'm sure the company who has that auto cruise taxis and stuff, they must have done the testing really good before launching it on the street. But they have to do the user trial, and user trial could only be done on streets. And unfortunately, you can't simulate all the problems which your machine will face in real world in a testing environment. Like
Right.
So whenever something new comes up, the AI is like, what do I do? What do I do? I just stop here.
Exactly.
I will block the whole square. And
It's like
do stuff.
whenever something can go wrong, it will when it comes to software. You know?
It is basically telling a kid who haven't seen a book and never in his life, tell me what is 2 plus 2.
Yeah.
It is really simple.
Yeah.
But he can't tell because he don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So changing the subject, going to OpenAI, okay? So I don't know if you know about the lawsuits that's been going on with OpenAI, authors, artists, basically filing suit against OpenAI because they used copyrighted material to train their AI models. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they should OpenAI and other stuff. They should voluntarily pay artists. But the thing is, even if they want to pay, like they should pay, because ultimately it is their creation, the creation of artists they are using for training their models. So you are using their product, and let's say if I am using any of your app or anything which you have created, and I am using it for monetary purposes, not for consuming it on a personal level,
Right.
then you deserve a cut, right, in the profits. That is how royalty works.
Yeah, but the thing is, a royalty is based on an agreement that you make with
Yes.
another person, right?
There is the second part.
Yeah.
To come up with the agreement is really hard, because
It's really
nobody knows how AI works. Like everybody knows that neural networks are trained and they calibrate themselves based on the decision and training set and all that. But what it is actually doing inside the mathematical equation, the activation functions, all that having, nobody knows it. So even though if it took your material for learning, so how much it took, how do you quantify it? maybe it never took anything.
The thing is, it's not about quantifying, it's about it having a transformative capacity. If I get someone's work and I transform it into something completely new or different, or for a purpose that the artist never even thought up of, okay? Why should the author or creator or artist come back and say, hey, you're infringing on my copyright because you used my work and you transformed it into something that I could never imagine it would be used for? That is why fair use, the term, exists in copyright. Because if it were not for fair use as a term, anybody that wanted to use other people's material for something completely different would be unable to. And that would actually stifle creativity in a very significant way. So I think that their use of those materials, copyright materials, is allowable. I think it's actually acceptable that they used it because it was used for a completely radical, different way. And to punish them for that, I think it's a money grab, honestly. Like, I think it's just authors and artists who are looking at what they're doing and saying, I want a piece of that action. And I don't think they're going to get it. I really don't, you know.
Yeah. How I take it is, this case thing, I consider it more problem not about the copyright thing, as in they are not using the material of the author or the painters in their original form. They are using some derivative of it. So that beats the copyright thing, because
yes,
if I read a book and I write a summary about it, then I am not under copyright law as long as I mention them or something like that. But I have created my own version and I can use that summary as my own property, right?
Like, imagine if you developed a software, right? And that software takes books and takes the language of books, so that the end result of that software is that it knows how to use certain phrases in a more humanized or original way that is more digestible to us. It learned that through books. Can the author then go and say, hey, I want to sue you and your software company because you used my books to make your software more capable of using turns of phrase in the way that I wrote my book?
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with your work. The connection between turns of phrase or language and your actual copyrighted work are leagues apart.
Okay, let's take an example. There is a figure of writing called personification. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
When you personify some stuff.
Sure.
Let's say in the literature, personification does not exist. Nobody knows about it. There is nothing as personification, right? And suddenly, you as an author came up with, you wrote a book or a poem or anything. You did the personification style of literature in that.
Yeah.
And then eventually you have like 10 other writers, you made a group, and basically you 10% are which have introduced personification style of literature to the literature society.
Right.
And suddenly now AI comes, and me, without any knowledge of literature to any extent, I want a poem written in a personification literature kind of way. Now the AI will create it, but it is trained on all the contents which was created by a group of 10 people like you.
Yeah, like artwork, for example, right?
Yes.
So imagine some artists created an anime style that is unique to them. And he created a tremendous amount of work using that style. If an AI is trained to learn that particular style, okay, it is, in my opinion, it's a big stretch for that artist to sue an AI company because the style was copied. If now, if there's a way to copyright a style, that's a different story. That actually may be the context for further development in litigation. But to my knowledge, no such copyright exists.
Yeah, again, I'm not taking it as a copyright
Yeah.
issue. I'm taking it as how are you training your AI? You need data to train your AI, right?
Absolutely.
You can't train it on thin air. And if, let's say, you are an organization and you have some mechanism in place to collect data, so you are spending money. Basically, the data is worth to you. It
Right.
is not free. You have some softwares you are using, maybe Oracle database. You have spent so much of money. Why? Because you need the data.
Right.
Ultimately, that is the bread and butter for your models, AI models. So
Yeah.
why I am saying this is how I see the case, this whole case as, rather than it being a copyright issue. The again for the anime example you gave, this art form I came up with, right?
Mhm.
And you are using it to train your model, maybe to create something which is a derivative of it, which
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily fall under the same umbrella
Exactly.
as for the copyright issue. But you still used the material produced by me, the work produced by me to train your model. And
Right.
where does that cost come? Like, I came up with this thing,
Right.
and you are using it to train your model, but I'm not being paid. But still, my work is being used. So
Right.
that is my question.
No, and that's why I said that maybe there's an argument for getting some form of regulation or like some form of court ruling in terms of the style of an artwork being utilized, but that's very difficult.
Yeah.
You see, it's very like complex law that you have to suddenly start to modify.
Yeah, and
And the problem with that is that if you extend that level of restriction to AI companies, you have to stretch that out to other people abroad. Like for example, what about if an artist learns a particular style from a given artist and recreates it using that style? Is that person now infringing on copyright as well? So it gets into really murky waters because it's just everybody copies other people's styles. Like it's how you gain inspiration. You know, you may even modify it, your style to appeal to a greater audience using some of the elements of someone else's style.
yeah.
So that's why I say I don't think that the people who are suing these companies have a case. I don't think that they're going to really get too much
No,
traction.
I also see that they
You
don't
know?
have a case. They won't get any money.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is they should be paid.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
But,
But
and
anyways, to change the subject, because so that way we don't go into a situation where we're talking about the legal ramifications of
yeah,
AI too much.
let the court hearing proceed with that.
So a survey found that relatively few Americans actually use or fear ChatGPT. Only about 18% of Americans actually use ChatGPT or AI derivatives. Most people use it for entertainment or to learn something. What do you think about that? The fact that only 18% of people are using these AIs that we're becoming familiar with.
So see,
Do you think it's a mistake?
no, I don't think it is a mistake. I think the data seems fine, whatever the report is. I tell you why. So why do you let's
Why do
take
I
me
consider
as
it a
user.
mistake? Okay.
So I use it for, let's say, if I have to go to a website, either I can search directly result in the chat GPT, but I am kind of a person. Like if I want to do something, I will go to a website.
Sure.
So for that we have Google. Like it had made it pretty simple.
Sure.
And then the other thing, whatever most of people are using it for social media, like chat GPT can't help with if you want to surf Instagram or TikTok or something. Then what? Then there are specific questions like fact-based question. What is the height of Roger Federer or something? So if you are using it for them, and out of 100% you see how much they are using it for fact-based information at a time. I'm sure like 70-80% are either using it to going to a website or maybe social media, and most of the people are just using it just for what I told you just now. So that's why I think the figure is right. What is your thoughts about
No,
it?
no, I'm not discounting the figure. I'm saying, do you think, my question was, do you think that it's a mistake on the part of the
Okay.
majority that they're not utilizing AI? That's so few. Like, think about it. 18% means that there's 82% of people that don't even use it, let alone know about it.
It also depends like why will they use it. It is not the uh, it is not the user's work to know about a new product. It is the work of the owner of the product to advertise it.
No, no,
So
of course, but do you think it's a mistake
yeah,
to not use it?
I can't think that why would they use it. Like why should I tell them that it's a what they are missing on if they are not using it in their daily life. Like if somebody is interested in technology, I get it, they want to use chat gpt, they want to see how things works, and they are even using chat gpt for their uh, use like google search and stuff and things like that.
Right.
But if I'm not doing that, I'm using the conventional method, what I am missing unless
I'll
we
tell you. I'll tell you. So this is my opinion, right? I didn't know this until today. I didn't know that only 18% of people knew or even used, ChatGPT or other AI models. But I can tell you that in my opinion, I think it's a mistake because, yes, can you use AI for entertainment purposes? Probably. I never use it for entertainment. But for learning, of course. I think that using AI, using ChatGPT, Claude, using Google Bard, all of these LLMs have the capacity to ultimately work as an assistant to your learning. Google Google search cannot do that. Okay? If you have a question and you throw it into the search engine, you're going to get a ton of different results that may ultimately not be what you're looking for. Whereas AI makes the contextual relationship with all of the words that you're asking and then does all of the work of looking for the information that closely relates to what you're asking and gives you a very precise answer, which is incredible, okay, for just about any subject that you can think of. And then it also has the capacity to show you things that are related to programming, law, you name it. I mean, there was a programmer that has been programming since he was a teen. And he started to learn about ChatGPT. This was a few months ago when I first started to learn about these LLMs. Maybe it was a bit further back. And he was terrified. He'd been working with AI for like the past decade, and he was terrified of what is currently coming out with these LLMs because he was comparing the bedside manner of a doctor to the bedside manner of the AI. And they did a study where they found that a certain percentage of people preferred the bedside manner of the AI over the actual doctor. Okay, the percentage was higher in favor of the AI. Okay, so the reason why he was terrified of it is because he said, look, once it can start to program the way that it needs to so that you could basically tell it what you want it to program, then I'm out of a job. And when that is, it's probably going to be a short period of time. But then you can apply that to the medical field. You can apply that to the legal field. I mean, there's attorneys right now that are ready to use the LLMs to pull up case law. So basically, they're already working as a paralegal in some cases. And there's some news that have come out where an attorney has used it and the AI like for example, ChatGPT hallucinated and created case law that didn't exist and was admonished by the court
That's why
because
I don't use it.
that's why you don't use it. Yeah. But the thing is, in any case, it's like these LLMs are like jackhammers compared to hammers, okay? Or compared to a mining pick. A jackhammer is leagues beyond a mining pick, okay? Does it make mistakes? Yes. But should you use it? Should you learn it? Absolutely, because it is the tidal wave of the century. Like the changes that are going to start to come about with AI is the likes of which we've never seen before. And it will take professions by storm, you know. And, you know, it even says here 19% of employed people who heard of it thought that it would affect their employment, and only 15% of people thought it would be helpful. Those people are, in my opinion, the ones that are kind of aware that it's something to be used, but it's also something to be concerned about regarding employment. Like I really think this year, you know, everybody's good to go, you know, but 5 years from now, it's a completely different, you know, playing field.
I think it has to be the use of chat GPT and AI chatbots, stuff like this, has to be seen with two viewpoints. The first one is the enterprise version, which like every enterprise is using it or they are trying to use it. And then the second version comes with the individual, like a user, individualized user like you are, I am, and most of the people are. So what I want to ask you is, what do you think for an individual user? So you have to consider the fact that 80% of the time we are using internet for not fact-based information, like surfing YouTube, just surfing YouTube for no particular reason at all, or watching some video or surfing on Twitter. And if I want to search some specific thing, then I search it on Google. Maybe there are a couple of things for which OpenAI and ChatGPT are good option, but for the most of the use today for a individual, I don't think ChatGPT is offering too much so that they switch it. Are you getting my point?
No, I get your point. ChatGPT is not the only model available. Okay, so the problem is people are resistant to the changes that come to them. Okay, if you look at what happened with Midjourney and Dolly Mini in the beginning, and even now, okay, it started to produce pretty good results. Not perfect results. Like for example, when you would generate an image using AI, the fingers would be terrible. They would be spaghetti fingers. The text on the image that was generated was gibberish. But the overall image was good. So if you had images that didn't involve hands, didn't involve text, I mean, there were contests that AI won that came from those models. They won the contest for art. And when it was discovered that it was an AI that generated that, you know, artwork, there was an uproar. Okay, there's a good percentage of artists that are in complete protest against AI art.
No,
okay, and they will not use it. So many of them will not use it. I don't know what amount of artists are refusing to use it, but the way I look at it is the way that I look at the washing machine. Okay, so there used to be a time where there were companies and people that would hand wash clothes for everybody else, and then the washing machine came out, and all of those people who wash clothes were in protest because the washing machine was taking over their jobs. Okay, AI is representing the same existential crisis for these artists, but the real opportunity that is present is the one that they're missing, which is use the tools, adapt to the changes. These kind of tools can produce exponential results for an artist, and so they should utilize it, because in time, for example, 15 years from now, there will be an artist that is 15, 18 years old, and he has good capacity as an artist, but the difference is he also has the experience of using these AI models to improve his artistic capacity. And he's going to blow everyone else out of the water, because they will not be able to crank out the level of content that as an artist as he can.
Yeah.
There's examples of this even now. There's a kid, I can't remember his name, but I think he was like 18 years old or 17 years old. He is selling children's books that were generated by AI, and he's made over $1 million selling them on Amazon. Okay,
That is pretty smart.
that's smart. But this is the example in the flesh. You're seeing it today. Okay, so that example that I gave you about the 18-year-old combined with those two qualities, why can't that be one of our viewers?
No,
You see what I mean? That sees that opportunity.
Yeah, I see that what you are saying, but if we, the case is again specific for like someone who is creating a painting or maybe writing a book
Yeah.
or something.
Let me move away. Let me move away from the artist, right? Let me move to someone that is in a more traditional form of employment, like a manager. Okay, so I spoke to someone who just became regional manager to a company, and we were having conversations, and I asked him, hey, do you use any of these chatbots, chat GPT or anything? And he said, no, in fact, I haven't. I mean, I think I used it once, and it was just for fun. It was for this. And then I told him, look, now that you just got promoted to as a regional manager, this is what you can do with these things. You can basically ask it questions related to the competitors of your company. You can say, what are these companies doing right that my company is not? And ChatGPT or Claude will give you an answer. They are doing this and this and this and this, and your company is not. And then you can take that insight, talk to your higher ups, and say, hey, listen, look at what I have here. Our competitors are kicking our ass in this regard.
Yeah, many
Okay.
of these things also depend on what AI is producing. So yeah, but that is an option. I see what
They
you mean.
can generate PowerPoints, like they can generate like a presentation for you where you can be in front of your boss and you're like, look, chart number 1 is showing this in terms of our analysis for our predicted revenue. I think that we have these problem areas. Like the fact that it can do the work of developing the presentations for you is incredible, So if that can happen for the manager, imagine the employee. The employee who has a low-level job, what opportunity, what leverage point can that employee see from that low position? Obviously, if a regional manager can take advantage of these things, a low-level employee can do so as well. If he has the capacity to reach his boss and communicate insights that his company could clearly benefit from, then obviously that leads to a level of promotion.
Yeah, you are right. It is a new tool, and
It's a new tool.
all need to learn a bit more about it and how to use it in better ways. And about the job thing which you were saying, I think that it. So see, when the automation and machineries came, everybody thought that it will just completely.
Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
listening. I'm listening.
So it will completely change the working scenario and stuff like that. So, but it did not. Like now we have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers instead of laborers,
Right.
hardworking laborers,
Right.
right? So if we have this, that now AI is everywhere and taking the jobs, then eventually we will have people who are trained in AI for its betterment. You see with the software, what it software does, computer basically, it makes the calculation and does a lot of work which would take like 1,000 employees, that computer is doing. So initially it was said that computer will kill most of the jobs, but now what we have a lot of software engineers, computer engineers. So I
Exactly.
think the same thing will eventually happen with AI, and that will lead for all of us to use AI in a better way. How you were saying that everybody is looking and they are using it more in a daily basis
Yeah.
rather than how it is today. But for
Yeah,
now,
it's simple. It's like the computer.
yeah. But for
You, you
I
know,
get it.
you know how back then people didn't have computers. They didn't have desktops, let alone smartphones.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of resistance back then. There was the there was basically the argument of saying, "Oh well, what's a computer gonna do that I can't do?" Even like people who deal with like accountants or whatever, they would say, "Oh yeah, no, a computer, I don't need that." It's the same kind of attitude that some people have, and I just look at it. I think it's just a tool that can be really useful. In fact, even my way of explaining what this tool is capable of, I think really doesn't even do it a justice. You know.
Nobody can explain how it works though.
Well, some people better than others. Like if we're talking about the CEO of OpenAI, I think he can give a far better explanation over what it's really capable of doing. And we can go into the deeper end of this conversation where eventually, because the trajectory the AI is going is not like linear. It's parabolic basically.
Yes.
So as these systems improve, they become better and better and better until the point that until the point reaches where there is no question about whether or not these systems are beneficial or not. Um, we don't know how long that's going to take, but I know that in these 10 years, people that take advantage of AI and actually use them will be better for it overall.
Yes.
So let me go to the next thing. So they recently came out with ChatGPT Enterprise, and this may change things for them in a big way. In fact, they don't even show a price tag for it. You have to contact them. What do you think about the enterprise option that ChatGPT is offering now?
Yeah, they need it obviously.
They do,
can't
yeah.
make the money.
Yeah.
They are spending 700 Gs a day.
Yes.
So they can't make that amount of money from public user, like, because it
Right.
is essentially free. I can use it for free. It is not like I have to pay something to use it.
Yeah, there's a free model. There's
And
also
enterprise.
no, there's a subscription model as well.
Okay.
That one's I think it's $20 a month.
Mhm.
That one's so you can. I guess what I like about ChatGPT 4 is that it uses real-time data.
Okay.
So if you have a question
Mhm.
and it's related to real-time data, that one can actually provide it for you. Whereas the free version only uses 2021 data. It's super outdated. That's part of the gripe that I have with
Like
ChatGPT.
if I use ChatGPT 4 and let's say someone is giving a speech, then I can ask ChatGPT 4 to generate the speaking notes for me.
Yes,
And
they
then
can. Yeah,
I will be the best news reporter ever.
Yeah, it's useful for that for sure. Um, and they may even though there's news that's saying that it's going to go bankrupt by 2024, the revenue that it's generating is incredible. In fact, it's generating, at least it's reported to generate $1 billion. That's their prediction that they're going to say by 2024. And I think that's pretty solid.
$1 billion, if they generate $1 billion, so it is fine even if they are burning 700
Oh, yeah.
Gs a day.
Yeah.
I would be happy to do that.
Yeah. So the enterprise level, you can't, there's really no price that's available on the website. you have to contact sales. And I think that makes sense because ultimately, if it's a service that they're providing to a business, every business is different. Every software company or app development company that is wanting to integrate ChatGPT with their enterprise is going to need a custom um, setup for them.
Yes.
They have different kind of requirements, and that's why there may need to be some custom tailoring to the pricing.
Yeah, maybe the type of hardware that processing requires. So, like each hardware is not the same rate, right? They can't just put a price, common price.
No,
Maybe
they
your
can't.
business
It's just
requires.
too hard, you know.
Yeah.
Like if some company needs video, but another one needs text, it's just a different requirement altogether. Um, now, it's so strange because like I like OpenAI, I like what they're doing, but I like other models more than I do OpenAI. It's like, for example, DALI Mini or DALI is an OpenAI model. I prefer Midjourney. I think Midjourney produces really, really good quality. And I think that they've been lagging a bit behind because they've really been focusing on their ChatGPT variant.
Also depends on kind of query you have. Some AI, like if you are looking for
Well,
something.
Midjourney's art,
Mhm.
like like graphic art, but DALI is also art as well. Midjourney is a separate company, but DALI Mini is one of the projects that is under OpenAI.
Mhm.
Okay, um, I've used both, and I haven't actually haven't tested the DALI in a while because Midjourney kind of was mopping the floor with them for a long time, and so I subscribed to Midjourney because I liked. I mean, honestly, what they're coming out with is even better than when I subscribed. When I subscribed, they were still kind of like the results that I would get when I would prompt the AI to create like images. It was okay. It was kind of hit or miss.
Mhm.
But now I use it and I get results that are almost what I wanted, if not better in some cases.
Okay.
You know,
And after subscription, you are saying you are getting better results.
yeah, because they've been improving it and improving it. So
Okay,
like this
for
has been a
better.
period of months now, but not even that
How
long.
much is
It's
their subscription?
I think it's like $15 a month.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is not that bad, but I wouldn't pay
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So you know, honestly, OpenAI at this point has a bunch of piranhas trying to nibble at their market share, and I don't know if the right word is to say piranha. I don't know if it's killer whale in
For
in
all
the end
we
for
know
them.
that piranha is the killer whale.
Exactly, because I wouldn't call Google a piranha. I would call it a killer whale. You know, and the same thing goes for Meta. You know, or even Tesla. Like Tesla's coming after them as well because they're creating their own AI. Well, not Tesla, but Elon Musk. Elon Musk is trying to create an AI. I forget what it's called, but I don't know if it's called Truth AI, but it's something related to truth. And they're probably going to come out with something similar to a chatbot. That's what I
Mhm.
think they're going to do. Um,
I can quick search it. Tesla
yeah, yeah, pull it up.
GPT.
That's what Elon Musk is. So even they want a bite of the apple of ChatGPT. Like I'm telling you, everybody is coming after OpenAI, and that's actually a good thing. Like from a perspective of um, a first market mover, you want this kind of action. However, it's also a double-edged sword because if they do make a better version, people are going to jump ship. I mean, I did it. You know, like when I was using ChatGPT, I had my frustrations because I was using older data, 2021 data, which is what they had available, and I wasn't able to get images. Like when I would wanted to pull up images, it wouldn't do that. I didn't like that. And so when Google Bard came out, you know, which is Palm 2, I got images, you know, and I felt comfortable with their user interface. I liked the results that they came out with in terms of programming, like where if I used ChatGPT for programming, I would get a snippet.
Mhm.
But if I used Google Bard, I'd get like full blown code. And I'm not saying that it was perfect. I'm not saying that it was even close to perfect. but it was much more significant than ChatGPT. And that right there is a limitation of OpenAI. Like, I think they really kind of put, I don't know if it's that they put the brakes on it, or if it's that that the capacity was limited, but it's one of those two, and neither of them are good. So that actually brings me to what Meta's doing. Meta is coming out with Code Llama,
Okay.
okay, and they are creating a really good model for programmers, for people that want to code. You know, so it's good at discussing code, but also generating code. And that's a model that I really want to test, because I think it's, you know, I think they're really homing in on that programming aspect.
I have
So-
also heard they will keep that that algo free to use. So it
Yes.
will be like how Google has kept Android.
Yes.
Like it is free, you can use it to develop your own thing. So that will be a major dent on OpenAI if Facebook is able to pull the model precisely.
Right.
It now all depends on the performance of model.
Now it's the performance, because one thing that we can't have with programming is hallucination. If you start to hallucinate code, you're going to create not so good code.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to see what Meta's going to come out with.
AI and a junkie should be different.
Yeah. And, you know, if it couldn't get any worse for OpenAI, companies from China are also wanting a bite of that action.
Yeah, that
You know-
Baidu thing launched, I
Yes.
heard, yeah.
So Baidu's coming out with their own chatbot, and it's called, I think they're calling it the Ernie chatbot. It's currently available only in the Chinese language. So I'm waiting for it to kind of open up for English so that I can test that as well. I'm really curious to see what they're gonna create. There's another one, and this one actually comes from the people who are running Alibaba. So
Okay.
it's called Quen VL, Quen-VL. This one is an interesting LLM because whereas ChatGPT, Bard, and all these other models use text for training their models, Quen actually uses images. So that's going to be a different LLM with different capacities, like, for example, identifying street signs or creating a caption based on an image. Or you can get like a sequence of images and it will create a narrative for those, you know, that sequence of images, or even a story, which I think it could be potentially useful. Like, I can see me adding 10 images for, like, let's say a story that is like an RPG story, you know, where you see dragons and wizards and a battle going on, and it identifying those images in terms of what they are and what it's portraying, and then creating a story based on those images. Like that capacity is really interesting to see how well it develops. So Quen VL is one that we got to look into. But so let me go to the next one. So we already talked about Meta going for the Code Llama. Now here's one thing that you might find interesting. So AI images, AI generated images, how do you protect them? We can't copyright them. So what's one new feature that has come out, and actually Google came out with this, watermarking AI images at the digital level. So they came out with an AI that allows you to digitally watermark your images so that when you look at them, you can't tell that they're watermarked. But when you run them through an AI, it can identify if it has a watermark or not. And that is going to create certain levels of protection for that image. Now, I don't know how that protection is going to translate in terms of the legal field or the legal arena, but I think at some point there may be some maturity with the legal system, you know, either in the US or worldwide, where people will start to recognize the creative capacity of certain artwork that was generated through AI. And I think it would be fair to offer some level of protection with those images. And I think that having a digital watermark is ideal because you don't have to, like, for example, stick a brand on top of your image in order to block other people from using it. Now you can actually have a watermark that is imperceptible to the main user and at the same time still functions in terms of identifying who's using it
I,
unethically and who's not.
I have a question though. They have a digital watermark. It does not show on the picture, right? It does not, from what
It
I
does
have.
not.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a digital watermark.
Yes.
It will not play with the quality of photos. But let's say I open the photo, I take a screenshot, then I crop the photo and then I use it.
It doesn't matter because it's digital. There's pixels inside of the image that have
Okay.
been sequenced in a certain way for
Okay.
AI to identify it.
Oh, I see. They have used pixel as a coding thing.
Yes.
Yeah. That-
So when you look at the image, for example, let's say that image of Elon Musk right there. If that image was generated with AI, there are certain pixels that were moved in a certain way so that that AI can identify whether or not it has a watermark
yeah,
or not.
I see. It is using it as a QR code, the pixels.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that is pretty smart.
So that's really cool stuff. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So this is another image generation AI that I've learned about. It's called Ideogram.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll pull up Ideogram here so that people can see it. And actually, I have it right here. Let me close this. So this is Ideogram. What I like about Ideogram is, and Midjourney has kind of solved some of the issues that they had, but like I said earlier, Midjourney had images that would generate with hands, and the fingers would look like spaghetti fingers. That didn't make sense. They've fixed that to some degree, so now when you look at hands, it looks fine. But the one thing that I think they're still working on is how text is showing up on these AI generated images that they make. What Ideogram does is Ideogram actually allows text to show up correctly. Not all of the time, not 100% of the time, but most of the time. And I think, if you can look at like this cow image here, it looks great, and look at the Joker one, so that's something that I think Ideogram is really good at. And I really do like the way that their artwork comes out. Like, I think it comes out pretty nice and clean.
Why is their artwork so right wing?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. And also you can see that there's like a lot of like logo style images. So I might be looking into this for logo creation. I think it's a good service. I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about is something related to the YouTube channel itself. So there's another AI that came out that can transcribe this audio into blog posts. And so we can ultimately change the medium of this content into text that'll be on our website.
So how it will write? It will write it in a reporting manner, or it will give a summary of what we are talking?
That's a good question. That's something that we have to look into, but it says here, Substack introduces new AI-powered audio transcription tools.
It is a transcription tool.
Yes.
I guess it will directly produce subtitles for us, and even if it is not able to understand couple of words, through AI it will guess what
It will guess.
and it will eventually learn
Yes.
for me that what I speak, what kind of words I use.
Right.
So it will fill up the transcripts.
So let me read some of what it says here. It says Substack is introducing new AI-powered tools that are designed to make podcasting on the platform easier. The company announced on Wednesday with these new tools, users can easily generate transcripts and audiograms. Let me see. says you can select a passage that you can then use to generate a special audiogram that you can share to social media. So I like this because I've actually thought about this a few months back. It's nice to be able to take something that comes from, you know, a channel or some content that is maybe video based and have a text format of it. In fact, there's another AI I was using that it basically summarizes YouTube videos for me. I found that beneficial because sometimes I just want the nitty gritty of the video, but I don't want to watch the video. So using a tool like this, if the person is more inclined to read, you know, like for example, I have people that they prefer to read as opposed to watching a video. So it might be a benefit to have a different format for the same content.
Yes, and there is also another software which had similar use. So what it would do is whatever your transcript is, and many times when you are speaking, you do ha, maybe, and you are thinking you are making these sounds.
Right.
So it would edit it out on its own and make the whole transcript of yours smooth. And additionally, it can edit video with it, and the part where you were basically doing making weird sound, it will also edit that part out of the video and the transcript, so
Right.
that your speaking, that whole transcript is really smooth, and so is your video. So now they have introduced AI in that technology that is pretty good.
Okay, nice. Well, guys, we're gonna wrap it up, but please like and subscribe this video. Thank you.